And this was unplanned, but I wore my flip-flops today. Well, it's the beginning of summer. It's a new beginning called summer. How you guys doing? All right, terrific. Well, it is new beginnings, and today I want to talk to you about new beginnings and the patience that is sometimes required for something to bloom. One of the things that summer brings out in terms of my memory of having lived in the desert for 13 years now is that periodically this time of year, you move into summer, you go out and you get in your car, and your battery says funny things to you when you turn it, right? Like sometimes you turn it, and it's like, and you have that moment where you're like, okay, is it the battery, the car, is it just one of those days in my life? I don't know what it is, but it just won't quite start. Sometimes you walk out there and you know it's the battery because when you get in it, all you get is click, 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 click. And then there's cursing that happens shortly thereafter, right? We all know what it is for something to almost come to be, to almost start but not quite, to almost bloom but not quite. A couple of you have sent me pictures this past week of things in bloom, and it's beautiful to see the desert right now. I got to be honest with you, having lived here for 13 years now, in just a couple of weeks, it's only been like in the last 3 or 4 years that I knew that the desert bloomed like this. I thought the only cactus that bloomed were the saguaros, and I don't know why I noticed those blooms at the top of the saguaros, but I've come to realize that at this time of the year, everything in the desert blooms, even the rocks bloom. But look at a couple pictures here. Someone sent me this. Look at that. That is a cactus in bloom. Gorgeous. Absolutely unbelievable. Look at this picture. These were shot with a smartphone and sent to me. Look at this one. This is, I think this may have been from Craig and Lana Cracchiolo that in their yard, that thing bloomed, and it was like 10 blooms on that cactus. They said it's the most that's ever bloomed. Go back one slide. Look at this one. This was so great. I saw this at my neighbor's house, and Brock and I were driving along, and we were having a father-son conversation. And I said, hang on, son, we got to stop. So I pulled over, flew out my car, and got a picture of this. And I'm sure he was hoping that I would forget where I was in the conversation. He didn't. I just picked right back up. Blooms, and then here's another one. Cindy, look at this last one. It's a good one. I got this right outside the parking lot. This was last Sunday morning after we left. And it's gorgeous. Beautiful. Things in bloom. This past week I saw I saw this one cactus that was, it had a lot of like soon-to-be blooms on it. Like they were buds, I guess. And I just thought to myself, what would it be like if all of these were open right now? Because I don't think I can wait for them to open on their own. I think I'm just going to open them all. So I just bent over and I started opening up all the blooms one at a time. I wrecked it. You know what that's like, don't you? Can't rush new life. It comes at its own pace. And I just really dislike that. So true, though. I didn't really do that to the cactus. I know that. I watched cactuses bloom and grow and all that. I didn't do it, but I felt like it because I thought, how great would it be for this to open right here, right now, just for Ted? But it doesn't happen like that. There's a process that has to happen for these things to come to fruition. They have to open on their own time. And my tendency is to become so impatient with the process of what's trying to emerge that I want to help it emerge, and it never really helps it emerge. I remember especially with our first child before she was born, I remember talking to her while she was in her mother's stomach. Like, come on out of there. I need you to come out. I'm ready to see you. It didn't really help. Process of rushing things into reality, it really doesn't every day, and we were never in a hurry. We never were trying to force things to occur that were not ready to be born yet. We weren't prying open blooms that weren't ready to fully blossom. We just let them emerge under their own power and in their own time. Don't rush new life. It comes at its own pace. So here's a question for you today. Where am I impatient with life's progress? Where am I in my own life impatient with life's progress? The older that I get in my life, the more I feel like I should be further along than I am in some parts of my life. Not chronologically, but maybe developmentally. I should be further along. My knowledge base should be broader. I should understand more than what I understand right now. Maybe safety and security, maybe financially. I feel like I should be further along. Where are you impatient with life's progress right now? Look at this passage of scripture. This is taken from Matthew, Sermon on the Mount. Jesus says, look at the lilies of the field and how they grow. Jesus was such an observational teacher. That's why I love his practical teaching so much. They're sitting out on this hillside. They call it the Sermon on the Mount. So they're on this little mountainside and Jesus is teaching. And unlike our day, where I'm standing and you're sitting, Jesus would actually have been sitting, and many of them would have been sitting on the hillside or standing if they couldn't see him. So Jesus is just sitting there, and observational teaching, he says, look at the lilies growing all around here. It would be no different than if we were walking down one of the paths right here in Anthem, and we just stopped and I said, look at this cactus in bloom. Jesus says, look at the lilies of the field and how they grow. Look at how they grow. They don't work. They don't make their own clothing. In other words, they don't create their own beauty. They naturally are that. And they don't even have to try. They're not constantly worrying, oh gosh, I hope I'm going to have more yellow than she is. I hope I'm going to be more beautiful than he is. They just let their natural essence come out. They don't even have to try. If God cares so wonderfully for the wildflowers that are here today and thrown out in the fire tomorrow, he certainly cares for you. God's process of growth that's so intricately built into creation is no different in creation than it is in us. It's a natural developmental process. Now, you can't rush new life. It comes at its own pace. But here's the key part. Here's the next phrase. I want you to lock in on this. You can't rush growth. It comes at its own pace. But I can participate with the process. I get to participate with the process of growth. I can't rush it, but I certainly sometimes can slow it down. I can retard the growth. I can stymie it so that it doesn't fully happen. I get to participate in this process of new things emerging in my life. I get to cooperate with it. God said to us, you guys are going to be co-creators with me in this journey. I'm just not going to throw it out there. Now, if your tendency is to sit back and just sort of sit around and wait, it's like, God, you know what? You got a lot of power. In fact, you got all power. So, make it happen. Do your best, God. And when it happens, I'll take credit for it. And enjoy it. Thank you, God. There's a really fine line, isn't there, between me doing my part and me not overdoing my part or underdoing my part. So the question is, am I doing my part to allow new growth to happen? Here's an action step for you today related to that I think will help you. Learn to be still. Learn to be quiet. Learn to listen. And learn to look. Developing skills of observation and developing skills of awareness are some of the most helpful, valuable pieces that we can add to our growth toolbox that allow us to know when do I step and when do I hold back. You probably know what your tendency is today. Either to over-participate with God's process, and in which case you need to stop and listen and observe more. If your tendency is to under-participate with God's process, then what you need to do is step up. Take some action. Step out. But we tend to fall into one of those two categories. Over-helping God, under-helping God. Fine line. So find yourself, ask yourself this question, am I doing my part? And then decide what action is appropriate for you. Learn to be still. Learn to be quiet. Learn to listen. And learn to look. You can't rush through life. It comes at its own pace. But I can. And I need to participate in that process. All right? Here's the next step I want you to think about. Step through open doors as they open. The last three words are absolutely key. Step through doors as they open. Now, again, if you're an over-helper with God, your tendency will be to step up to the door, and if it's not open, you're going to help God open it. You might kick it down. You might beat it down. You might fumble around with the key of the door and the lock and all that, trying to get it open because you know that God really needs your help. He's a busy God. Sometimes he forgets because he's really old. He's been around forever, and so you think maybe he forgot about you, so you're like, God, I'm going to put things in order here. about it's just not time. I just keep knocking. My tendency, some of you will identify with this, is I become so frustrated with the fact that whoever's behind the door doesn't come and open the door that I knock louder and harder and more forceful. So sometimes the door doesn't open just because it's not the right time. Sometimes the door doesn't open because you're at the wrong house. Right? And so the action step is back up and check the address. I remember a few years back going to some people's house here in Anthem that never been to their house before. They came to fellowship and knew who they were, knew what they looked like and all that. And got over to their house and you know, all of our houses here are similar in design, feel, and all that, especially we're in the early days of me moving here where I come from a less homogenous community. And I remember rolling up to the house and it was dark, it was at night, and the light above the numbers wasn't fully illuminated. This is before my eyes started getting older, but so it was all about lighting. The lighting was bad. So I remember walking up to the door, ringing the doorbell, standing there, and they come to the door, and it's the wrong people. And then your mind goes into high action, right? You're like, okay, do these people share this house with the people who should be living here? Are these relatives visiting from out of town? Right? I mean, your mind goes to all these versions of what could be happening. And finally, you know, I just said, hey, how's it going? They're like, good. Can we help you? I was like, well, I was here to see so-and-so. Oh, they don't live here. Oh, I didn't think so. I was just visiting in the neighborhood, and I thought I would stop by and say hi, meeting all the people on the street. I mean, you can just go into a lot of different things, right? Hi, I'm doing a survey. You're obviously not who I want. I'm doing a survey. And then there's that moment where you just got to back up and go, you know what? Wrong address, wrong house. I got to go to a different door. And in life, that's a hard one for us. Because we have to do something that goes against our nature. We have to choke down our pride, and we have to come up with some humility. Go, ooh, wrong address, wrong door. We got to back up. In my life, I know a lot of times I've gone to the wrong house, wrong door. And I just kept working, kept knocking, kept banging, and finally kicked the door open. And, you know, here's the thing about God. I mean, he's so smart and all. But, like, he'll let you come on in. A lot of times he'll let you go through the door that you want to go through, even though it's not the best door for you. He'll let you go through so that you get to learn not to knock the doors down. I hate that lesson. You think I'd have learned it by now, but sometimes I've just become so completely convinced of what I know to be right in my life. I'm going through this door. It's the best door for me. God's on the other side going, you know, it's really not, but if you want to come in that bad, I'm going to let you in. But you're going to have to go to school. So, here's the question for you today. Where am I resisting the obvious indications of God's timing with a closed door or God's path with a closed door? Where do you need to back up, try a different door? Or where do you need to just be patient? Keep knocking. All right, here's the next piece. When it comes to new beginnings, nothing new can come until you use what you have. Nothing new can come until you use what you have. This is a principle in God's kingdom that he gives us what we need. And he really wants to provide all that we desire. He says that. I want to give you this abundant life. I want to give you the desires of your heart. Sometimes the desires of our head and the desires of our heart, they all get mixed up, don't they? But what our head really wants, what our mind really thinks it wants to live a good life, and what our soul really knows it needs to live a good life, those two are in conflict with each other. And so sometimes God he'll like petition it out to us, little by little by little. Because he knows that it's a process to get us ready for what we ultimately really do want. And so he gives us a little bit, we step into it. He gives us a little more, and we step into that. He gives us a little more, and we step into that. But sometimes he says, here, I've given you this, I've entrusted this with you, I want you to use Here's the action step to help you move forward. Two things: acknowledge and appreciate. Sometimes for me to be able to move forward and gain what I need for the next leg of my journey, I just have to take a step back and do a little inventory. Go, you know what? I've really been given a lot here. I've been entrusted a lot. You have to acknowledge it. I have that. I have that. I have one of those. I have that skill, that capacity. I have that knowledge. I have that understanding now. Wow. God, I've been given a lot. Comma. Thank you. Gratitude, right? How many of you, we talked about this back in December at the national holiday of gratitude called Thanksgiving. How many of you are still waking up in the morning, first thing before your feet hit the floor, and you go through some process of being grateful for what you have? How many of you doing that? Awesome. That's like 5 days. Great. Awesome. Appreciation is such a key to the whole process of God being able to entrust more to me. You know how it is, guys. You do it with your kids, right? Kids come up, like, hey, can I have a whatever? Absolutely, you can have a whatever. You hand it to them, and they put it in their little hands, and they look at it, and they love it, and then they go running off, and then you grab them by the hair, bring them back, spin them around, and what do we say? What do you say? And what do we want them to say? Oh, that's cool. Nope. We want them to say 2 little words. Thank you. It's acknowledgement and appreciation all wrapped into one. We try to teach it to our kids at an early age, but something out there in the world magically saps the power of gratitude out of us as we grow up through development. That thing typically is called entitlement. At some point we start thinking that we actually are entitled to whatever is handed to us. Granted, we work hard and we're smart and we have capabilities and all that. God entrusts that to us, but all God really wants us to do when He sticks something on our hands, go, thank you, God. Oh, you like that? Awesome. You're grateful for that? Fantastic. How about one of these? Oh, God. Thank you. So, here's the question for you. What have I not been using that I'm not accessing to its full? What have I been given that I'm not accessing to its full potential? Take a look. Take a little inventory. Acknowledge it. And then appreciate it. All right, here's one final thing about new beginnings today. When things just won't seem to bloom. Car won't start. Here's the next thing. Some of the most beautiful new life comes from the ground with the most poop. Now, here's the challenge where some of us are right now. You're more concerned about the fact that I just used the word poop in church than you are about the reality that some of the best growth happens in our lives over what it seems to be the most stinky, dirty, wasteful moment. I grew up in Oklahoma, and we grow cows there. They grow up, and then we eat them. Sorry. And tripping out through the pasture when I was a kid, Peg's parents grew cows, they raised cattle, and my grandparents raised cattle. And as a young boy going out of the pasture, in the springtime in particular, you always knew where not to step. Not because there was a large pile of manure there, but because up through the manure were all the green grass. That was where the grass came up first. And so when you looked out across the pasture, you saw all these little green grass patches, and it's like, you would think, oh, let's go roll in the green grass. Nope, hang on, don't. Don't do it. In our lives, what often seems to be the most challenging moment, the stinkiest moment, is the highest moment of growth for us. If we allow it to emerge, if we participate with the process, if we don't push the door open, if we knock patiently, if I do my part, if I I acknowledge, if I recognize, if I appreciate, then I actually get to grow to what many times is the single most stinky moment of my life. Here's a question I want you to ask yourself today. What new lesson do I need to learn to move beyond my current pile of poop? It's a critical question. Because sometimes we get so stuck in our current stuff. We get so discouraged and so down. It's like, oh, God, seriously, you're going to leave me here in this mess? It stinks here. I'm getting all yucky here. It's hard. I'm stuck in it. And what God's trying to do is help me grow. He wants to give me the opportunity to step out of it. But I can't get out of it until I learn what I'm supposed to learn in it. And I got to be honest, guys, this is a hard one for me. A lot of times I can just look at God and go, God, I am tired of all this pile of poop. Get me out of here. And God, you just sit back and go, Dad, I want this. You really do. Just learn what you're supposed to learn. That can only be learned in the pile of poop. I recognize this. For some of you, this will be your last day. Okay. Part of my pile of poop, I get it. Here's the action step I want you to think about. This is hard. Don't judge your situation as stinky. Remind yourself that it's a privilege to be given the gift of growth. You ever find yourself doing that? Judging your situation? God, this stinks so bad. Why am I still here? Can't get out of here. Not fair, God. You don't love me anymore, God. And we judge God, or we judge the